It's giants in the land who really run the world. The earth is giving in their hands. Who got faith like Caleb? Who gon' trust in these commands? We know our Redeemer live with armor up and stand. Trust up in his plan. It's giants in the land who really run the world. The earth is giving in their hands. Who got faith like Caleb? Who gon' trust up in commands? We know our Redeemer live with armor up and stand. Trust up in his plan. Spies is back with a message. The giants controlling the media. The giants controlling the banks. Had discernment that watch what they feed you. Making honey that beautiful lane. I'm like Caleb, don't care what they slang. I'm what is he saying in his hand? Who can provoke him again? He sending signs at once. Who you think sending the thunder? Who you think sending the storms? Under his wings, cover. We got the spirit of Caleb. We gotta be ready now. We do not care about no numbers. I'm gonna send him a stone. Goliath and fall in the nations. Gonna see that he love us. It's getting real. I really pray that we get it to seal. Ezekiel 9, he coming to kill. Crime regardless, don't care how they feel. That land was promised to us when they healed. They get offended, we give them the word. Mocking the righteous, we finally don't turn. Ain't no way we looking back to that bird. I to the east, everybody gon' I got a slingshot. Getting so close to the lane. He about to bring back. He gon' send his mighty hand. Watching these wings fly. We gon' trust up in this plane. Who got faith like Cain? Mouth that smoke like David. Who ain't scared to say it's giants in the land? Who really run the world? The earth is giving in their hands. Who got faith like Caleb? Who gon' trust in these commands? We know our Redeemer live with armor up and stand. Trust up in his plan. It's giants in the land. Who really run the world? The earth is giving in their hands. Who got faith like Caleb? Who gon' trust up in commands? We know our Redeemer live with armor up and stand. Trust up in his plan. Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got they know we waking up, ain't no looking back. We Abraham with the stars. They know we waking up, ain't no looking back. Messiah bringing us the y'all. They know we waking up, ain't no looking back. We Abraham with the stars. They know we waking up, ain't no looking back. Messiah bringing us the y'all. Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David? Who got faith like Caleb? Don't that smoke like David?
Who got faith like Caleb? About that smoke like King Dawid. All praises to the Most High, giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Mamalak, Yahweh Shai, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom, Wa Baruchim. That is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait till the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. Hallelujah. All praises to the Almighty Yah.
Hallelujah.
Yes, indeed. I'm joined this evening. You are live and direct, first of all, with your Akazaki Yahoo. I'm joined this evening by my most esteemed Kenaniah. Shalom, Aki.
Hey, Shalom, Aki. Shalom, Yasharal. Kwam Yashala.
Yes, indeed. Rise, Israel, rise. It is indeed Yom Shishi evening, the evening before HaShabbat. And we are looking forward to the Sabbath tomorrow because we got a high Sabbath tomorrow because Shavuot we will be keeping on tomorrow as well as the Sabbath. So in addition to the Sabbath, we'll also be observing Shavuot, which is the feast of first fruit, the celebration of the Most High providing us with what we need moving forward. So all praises to the Most High. We'll see. We probably have some. We'll probably have some stuff there that we'll stream some, but for the most part, we're going to enjoy the feast. This fourth portion of the series, what it means to be a Hebrew Israelite, we're going to dive into the scattering of the children of Israel. and how we have been put in various places. The place that we are in probably the most abundantly is Kebulon, which you may know as Africa. That's where the children of Israel are in the most volume. And if you have not known, or if you're unfamiliar, the children of Israel are continuing to awake in various places. Shalom, Makoti Jackie. Good to see you this evening. All praises to the Most High. Are in Israel, are in Kebulon. So we are scattered through the four quarters of the earth, but in some places we are more abundant than others. And like I said, Africa is a place, or the Kebulon is the original name for it, is a place where we are very much in abundance. And I want to highlight one of the young brothers doing some great stuff in Burkina Faso. If I'm saying it incorrectly, forgive me. If you know this brother, know of him and his exploits and what he's doing in Burkina Faso, he's shaking up things, and he's doing it for the good of his people. Remind me of his name, Captain.
That's Captain Ibrahim Troy.
Yeah, that's it. Ibrahim Troy. So we're going to highlight this video, this first video brought to us by our good brothers over at Black Culture Unlocked. The man America fears, and the most, but the CIA can't silence it. So they can't shut him down, but they are dreadfully afraid of his impact on things, including especially the children of Israel. So let's go to this video real quick here.
On a oublié de nous dire merci. C'est pas grave, ça viendra avec le temps.
Il y a une partie qui a retenu mon attention, là où il parlait d'ingratitude.
L'ingratitude, je suis bien placé pour le savoir, c'est une maladie non transmissible à l'homme.
In the endless list of men the West brands as enemies, most wear turbans, carry rifles, or command armies, but the one man America truly fears wears dusty boots, a military uniform, and walks freely among his people. His name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and he doesn't fit their enemy profile. He doesn't threaten to nuke anyone. He doesn't sit on trillions of barrels of oil. He doesn't even want to fight the West. He simply wants nothing from them. That's what terrifies them. But why exactly? Why is he the most feared man in the West? Let's uncover what the West will never confess. In the global economy, no resource has enslaved and enriched more than gold. It glitters in vaults and symbols. But in Africa, it has always served a different purpose: control. For over a century, Burkina Faso's gold was mined by its people, but never truly owned by them. The country's gold exited its soil faster than it could build schools or hospitals. It was extracted, exported, and refined in Europe, mostly in France and Switzerland, then sold on international markets, detached from the land and labor that produced it. Burkina Faso, despite being one of the continent's top gold producers, never had the power to set its price or even touch the final product. It was like being chained to a river of wealth that you could never drink from. Captain Ibrahim Traoré saw through this illusion. He recognized that until Burkina Faso could take ownership of what lay beneath its soil, every other form of sovereignty, political, financial, even cultural, would remain a performance. And so, in November 2023, with almost no Western media coverage and zero foreign sponsorship, he cut the first thread of the colonial web. He built a refinery, a real one capable of processing 400 kilograms of gold every single day, not for export in raw form, but for transformation on Burkinabe soil by Burkinabe engineers under Burkinabe law.
Première pierre, c'est une question de souveraineté d'abord. Dans l'environnement de la production d'or au Burkina, pendant longtemps, on avait dit que nous n'étions pas un pays producteur d'or, mais depuis un certain temps, l'or est devenu le premier produit d'exportation. Mais nous n'avons pas de contrôle sur l'or, que ce soit la recherche, la production, comme vous avez pu le voir, la raffinerie. Et nous nous sommes posés plein de questions Et aujourd'hui, nous avons décidé de mettre toute une chaîne en place.
To outsiders, it was just another infrastructure project, but in the minds of those who had long controlled African gold through offshore contracts and invisible margins, it was a declaration of war. For the first time in modern history, Burkina Faso didn't need to send its gold to France or Switzerland to realize its value. It didn't need to submit to contracts written in legalese that always favored foreign investors. It didn't need to wait for European buyers to dictate its economy. Traoré had cut out the middleman and the empire that stood behind him. The panic was quiet but unmistakable. Western mining companies began pulling out. Brokers in Dubai, Geneva, and Paris saw a freeze in the usual supply chain. Even global credit agencies responded with predictable punishment, downgrading Burkina Faso's ratings to high risk, signaling to investors to back off. Meanwhile, Burkinabe television showed the refinery working around the clock, pouring gold bars stamped with national insignia. In one televised segment, a refinery technician said, "This is the first time I've seen our gold stay in our hands." That statement carried more weight than any diplomatic speech ever could. But what truly shook the global system wasn't just that Burkina Faso was refining its gold. It was what that act represented. Because if gold, the most sacred of Western-controlled resources, could be seized back and processed locally, what else could be reclaimed? It wasn't just about metal, it was about imagination. Suddenly, the idea that Africa had to outsource everything, its wealth, its labor, its decision-making, was under fire. Traoré didn't just keep the gold, he stored it locally. He began shifting state reserves away from currencies like the CFA franc, still under the grip of the French treasury, and into gold bullion held within Burkinabe vaults. That meant the state's wealth could no longer be frozen by foreign courts, discounted by
Keith Walker, Shalom King. So you say that the Southern Kingdom was never called Israelites. I beg to differ, because the children of Jacob have always been called Israel, since his name has been changed to Israel. So I suggest you look deeper into that, because we are Israel. Yes, we may be the Yahudim, the Yahawadim, that is what it is, but we are still Israel. All Yahudim are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Yahudim. So yes, Southern Kingdom is separated into Yehudim, Yahawadim. However, we're still the children of Jacob, the children of Israel. Yasha'al, Yasha'Allah, however you choose to pronounce it. So, there's no need to differentiate. The prophecy is that the two will become one in the hand of Mashiach. So we're all going to be Israel, Yasha'al, Yasha'Allah. And we are already. So continue in the video.
By ratings agencies or manipulated by sanctions. He was protecting not just the economy, but the very sovereignty of the state. Naturally, the attacks began, not against the refinery, but against the man behind it. Western publications questioned his leadership, his stability, and his legitimacy. He was portrayed as erratic, authoritarian, and untrustworthy. But the people of Burkina Faso saw something else. A leader doing what no one before him dared to do, touch what was always theirs. The refinery became a symbol, not just of resistance, but of reality. Traoré wasn't selling dreams. He was delivering gold, literally. Yet Traoré understood that gold, no matter how shiny, doesn't feed a nation. It can fund an economy, but it can't grow roots in the ground. It can buy food, but it can't guarantee that the next generation will know how to produce it. He knew that true sovereignty doesn't come from what's under the soil, but what grows from it. And so, once the gold began staying home, he turned his attention to something even more foundational: the right to feed his people with with their own hands. When a nation takes control of its gold, it changes how it looks at everything else. If you no longer need to ship wealth to Europe to validate it, then you start asking harder questions. Why do we still import food? Why do we rely on foreign canned goods when we grow the ingredients ourselves? Why are our fertile fields full of poverty? Ibrahim Traoré didn't see the refinery as an endpoint. He saw it as a starting point, the down payment on a broader vision. Because what good is gold if you can't feed your people? What's the value of economic sovereignty if hunger still dictates your dependency? Burkina Faso is no stranger to farming. Its population is overwhelmingly rural, and agriculture makes up a huge share of its GDP. But like many African nations, it was stuck in a tragic contradiction. A food-producing country that couldn't feed itself. Tomatoes were grown locally, but pasta sauce came from Italy. Cashew trees bloomed in the thousands, yet the fruit rotted in silence while imported juices flooded local stores. Farming wasn't absent. It was undervalued, unprocessed, and unprotected. Traoré's plan wasn't just to grow more, it was to intervene at the choke point, processing. If Burkina Faso could refine its gold, then it could also process its harvests. And that's exactly where he struck next. In early 2024, the government launched an $8.9 million tomato processing plant in Yako. Unlike past attempts at agricultural reform, this was not designed with European aid or UN grants. It was funded through local state budgets and gold-backed reserves. The factory was built not just to absorb tomatoes, but to build market insulation, to end reliance on Italian canned goods that filled local shelves. It was engineered for Burkinabe consumption first, and then exported. The results were immediate. Tomato farmers, who once sold at a loss due to seasonal gluts, now had year-round demand. Women-run cooperatives began forming around storage and packaging, as local businesses found new buyers for local produce. By mid-2024, the factory had processed over 6,000 metric tons, cutting tomato imports by over 40% within its first season of operation. But Traoré wasn't finished. His next target was a product so overlooked it had become invisible: cashew apples. While the world fights over cashew nuts, the apple, the fleshy fruit that encases the seed, is often discarded. In Burkina Faso, hundreds of thousands of cashew apples go to waste every year. Traoré saw a business where others saw garbage. So in May 2025, he broke ground on an $11.5 million cashew apple processing plant in Penny. The goal wasn't just to make juice, it was to tap into a forgotten source of vitamins, fermentable sugars, and industrial alcohol, and to make it profitable. The facility is projected to process 5,000 tons annually, turning agricultural waste into wine, vinegar, spirits, and medical-grade ethanol.
Burkina Faso's latest bet is on its cashew industry. Efforts to utilize its abundant cashew apples are already.
In traditional development thinking, food production ends at the harvest. In Traoré's model, that's where it begins. Processing, packaging, and exporting aren't Western privileges anymore. They're national rights. And these factories weren't just economic hubs. They became symbols, visible, tangible proof that Burkina Faso could manufacture not just survival, but dignity. What made these projects revolutionary wasn't just their funding or their purpose. It was their ideology. Traoré rejected the idea that Africa must feed others while starving itself. He rejected the old model where raw cashews go to India and tomato paste comes back from Europe. He wasn't chasing GDP growth, he was chasing functional autonomy. This shift also began transforming the nation's cultural psyche. Farmers who once viewed their labor as marginal began to see themselves as frontline defenders of national independence. School children toured the tomato factory on field trips. Journalists began reporting factory output alongside gold refinery numbers. Suddenly, agriculture was no longer the domain of forgotten peasants. It was part of the nation's power grid. But even food, Traoré knew, is vulnerable if money still flows through foreign-controlled banks. If farmers had to beg for foreign credit, then the sovereignty they built in the fields could still be hijacked in the vaults. Gold could fund growth, food could sustain it, but what about financing it? Once again, Traoré's logic kicked in. If you can refine your gold and feed your people, then you must also build a bank that serves them. After establishing physical control over Burkina Faso's gold and launching national food processing initiatives, he realized the next battle wasn't on the ground, it was in the banks. Because even if gold was held locally and crops were harvested efficiently, money, the medium that connects production to prosperity, was still dominated by outside forces. The Burkinabe farmer could plant a field, the Burkinabe miner could refine a bar of gold, but neither could get a loan without going through a system laced with strings. Western-backed commercial banks prioritized extractive industries and elite urban real estate, while neglecting the backbone of the economy, rural workers, small traders, and agricultural cooperatives. These weren't just financial blind spots, they were intentional choke points. Keep the lifelines narrow and you control what breathes. Traoré decided to build an oxygen tank. In late 2024, the government launched the Postal Bank of Burkina Faso, Banque Postale du Burkina Faso, a publicly owned institution with $25 million in founding capital, sourced entirely from the country's gold reserves and internal revenues. No World Bank loans, no IMF advisors, no foreign donors. It was by design a rejection of the belief that Africa must borrow to develop. The structure of the bank was radical for its simplicity. It operated through post offices, one of the few institutions with physical reach across the entire country. This allowed farmers in remote villages, informal vendors in border towns, and youth collectives in urban slums to access accounts, save money, and apply for credit without setting foot in a Western-style financial district. Credit wasn't determined by credit scores calculated in Zurich. It was determined by community lending networks, agricultural output, and local cooperative endorsements. The bank didn't reward speculation, it rewarded productivity. This, in essence, was sovereign banking for sovereign people. The ripple effects began immediately. Within 2 months of opening, the bank registered over 60,000 new account holders, most of whom had never previously accessed formal financial services. Microloans were issued not for consumption, but for expansion, to buy grain mills, to repair irrigation canals, to acquire farming tools, to buy packaging for tomatoes and cashew juice. Money wasn't exiting the country, it was circulating, growing more productive with each turn. Critics called it unsustainable. Western economists warned that without oversight from global financial institutions, the bank would become distorted by populist economics. But what they feared wasn't mismanagement. It was a success, because the postal bank had quietly performed the unthinkable. It had created a financial loop that didn't pass through Paris, Brussels, or Washington. And once Burkina Faso proved it could fund its small businesses, its factories, its food systems, it started asking the most dangerous question of all: what exactly is the IMF for? In parallel, Traoré's administration began tightening regulations on foreign banks. All remittances had to be declared. Tax evasion loopholes through Western branches were shut down. Mining companies were ordered to route payments through the national financial system. No more disappearing profits to offshore accounts. This wasn't just about keeping money in the country. It was about making sure it served the country. Perhaps most symbolically, the postal bank began issuing its internal bonds, backed by physical gold rather than future loans. In doing so, Traoré was quietly creating a parallel credit system, one that didn't rely on borrowing from colonial lenders but on real assets, produced and held domestically. And here's the secret the global system doesn't want Africa to learn. When you stop borrowing from them, they lose all leverage. No more structural adjustment programs. No more austerity recommendations. No more currency devaluations imposed by foreign bureaucrats. Burkina Faso had broken the rules and stayed standing. But Traoré knew money was only one part of the story. Because even if your banks are free, you're never truly sovereign if your security still depends on foreign boots. Financial independence means little if someone else is flying drones over your borders. And so, with gold in vaults, food in factories, and money in the hands of the people, Traoré turned to the final frontier of autonomy, defense. The time had come to expel not just economic parasites, but foreign armies themselves. And remember, that's where the Western hate for Traoré turns into fear. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. When a nation starts building a financial system it owns, the first question its enemies ask is, who's going to protect it? That question isn't rhetorical. In Africa, the answer has always been the same. Foreign troops. U.S. drones patrol from above. French special forces patrol from within. Intelligence flows through NATO command centers, not national ministries. And when an African government resists too loudly, those same boots that claim to protect will be the first ones stomping on its sovereignty. Ibrahim Traoré understood this from the start. That's why he didn't stop at gold, food, or banking. Because the truth is simple. If you don't control your security, you don't control anything. Your economy can be sabotaged, your elections manipulated, your leaders targeted, all under the guise of cooperation. And so, while international analysts were busy dissecting his economic decisions, Traoré was quietly preparing for a much louder one. In early 2024, after months of classified consultations with military command, Traoré made the decision that would redefine Burkina Faso's geopolitical posture. He ordered the complete withdrawal of all foreign troops, French, European, and American, from Burkinabe soil. This wasn't symbolic. It was operational. Air bases were shut down. Joint operations were canceled. Embassies were informed that intelligence cooperation was no longer on the table unless it was bilateral and transparent. Overnight, Burkina Faso became the only country in the Sahel actively refusing Western military protection. What followed was a wave of international condemnation dressed in diplomatic language. The French Foreign Ministry called it short-sighted. NATO officials warned of a security vacuum. U.S. outlets declared that Traoré was risking regional stability. But beneath the noise was an unmistakable tone of panic. Because in one move, Traoré had exposed the myth that foreign soldiers were there for protection. The numbers told the truth. Despite 2 decades of Western military presence, insurgency in Burkina Faso had increased by over 200%. Drone strikes created more refugees than they eliminated threats. Local fighters adapted faster than international forces could strategize. And worst of all, villages began reporting that supposed counterinsurgency operations had destroyed farms, homes, and water supplies without ever identifying real insurgents. In many cases, the Western presence wasn't solving violence, it was multiplying. Traoré flipped the narrative. He declared that Burkina Faso would no longer outsource its right to exist. In a televised address to the nation, he said, "No nation can be sovereign while another's soldiers occupy its territory. We do not want to be guarded. We want to be respected." And then he acted. Within weeks, he announced the expansion of a national defense restructuring plan, recruiting 10,000 additional local troops with full integration into community service. These were not elite forces parachuted in for photo ops. They were citizens, farmers, welders, teachers, given military training and embedded in their regions. Even more radical, Traoré converted several military bases into dual-use service centers. Soldiers were ordered to help build roads, dig irrigation canals, repair schools, and distribute food alongside their defense roles. The army was no longer a colonial residue. It was being reborn as an institution of service, not occupation. For external defense, Traoré began aligning closely with regional neighbors, particularly Mali and Niger, forming the core of what would soon be known as the Alliance of Sahel States (AES), a regional bloc with real-time intelligence sharing, joint patrols, and combined strategy planning. No American generals, no French oversight, just Sahelian soldiers deciding how to defend Sahelian soil. Behind the scenes, new procurement contracts were negotiated. Burkina Faso began diversifying its sources of military equipment, seeking deals with countries like Turkey, Iran, Russia, and even China, not to build dependency, but to break the monopoly. No more single points of control, no more arms that come with advisors who sit in your command chain. But the most crucial shift was philosophical. For the first time in modern Burkinabe history, security was seen as an extension of national dignity, not vulnerability. Traoré didn't pretend that Burkina Faso was safe. He knew the threats were real, but he also knew that people cannot be truly secure until they believe they're worth protecting with their own hands. And once you reclaim the military, the final lever of outside control, there is only one front left to liberate: the mind. Because even if the gold is yours, the food is local, the banks are free, and the soldiers are home, what happens when your children still think in French, eat imported wheat, and dream of being Western? That's the final battlefield Traoré was preparing to face. You can win the gold, you can grow the food, you can fund your development, you can even reclaim your military. But if your people still think in the language of their colonizers, still dream of escaping to Europe, and still trust foreign knowledge over their own, then you've won the land, but lost the mind. And Ibrahim Traoré knows that losing the mind is losing everything. That's why, after reasserting control over Burkina Faso's resources, institutions, and army, he opened a new front. One far more dangerous, far less visible, but infinitely more powerful: the cultural battlefield. Because the average Burkinabe child still learns French, they still sing European nursery rhymes, memorize European history, and grow up thinking that real success means leaving Africa. Identity, for generations, has been outsourced, quietly, systematically, and intentionally. And as Traoré has repeatedly warned, no people can be free if their soul belongs to someone else. So in 2025, he launched the most radical, and perhaps most underestimated, phase of his national revolution: cultural decolonization. The first target was language. Traoré ordered a sweeping overhaul of the national education curriculum, mandating that primary school instruction in rural areas be conducted in local languages like Mooré, Dioula, Fulfulde, and others, not French. The policy was more than linguistic. It was a direct assault on the idea that knowledge only counts if it's spoken in European tones. Critics inside and outside the country warned of fragmentation, of educational decline, of international isolation. But the results told a different story. Student attendance in rural schools shot up. Literacy improved. Young children who once sat silently in classrooms, ashamed or confused by French, now spoke, debated, and learned with pride. Parents, for the first time in decades, could understand what their children were learning. Whole communities became classrooms, and the classroom became a cultural revival ground. Language, it turned out, wasn't just about communication. It was about ownership of thought. But Traoré didn't stop with language. He turned to agriculture, not as an economic sector, but as a spiritual archive. He banned GMO seeds and terminated contracts with foreign agro-tech firms pushing modified crops. In their place, he introduced a national seed sovereignty program. Old seed banks were reopened. Indigenous farming techniques, passed down orally for centuries, were documented, taught, and integrated into formal agricultural universities. This wasn't nostalgia. It was a war against a system that had convinced African farmers that only imported seeds could feed their people. Traoré was out to destroy that myth, and he did it by fusing ancestral wisdom with modern science. His administration invested in agroecology programs, trained thousands of youth in organic farming techniques, and linked cultural festivals to seasonal farming cycles. In villages where knowledge had been dismissed as superstition, farmers now proudly taught professors how their ancestors rotated soil, tracked rain patterns, and preserved crops, all without chemical inputs. Where Western aid had once reduced farmers to passive recipients, Traoré's policies turned them into custodians of national memory. And perhaps the boldest move of all came with the National Arts Campaign. In 2025, the government launched a program funding local filmmakers, poets, musicians, and visual artists, but with one condition: no mimicry of Western tropes. Art had to be rooted in Burkinabe identity, language, and experience. The goal was not to entertain, it was to restore. Youth competitions were held for storytelling in indigenous languages. Rural radio stations began broadcasting traditional music fused with modern beats. Street murals in Ouagadougou exploded with symbols of pre-colonial resistance. A new wave of cultural nationalism swept across the country, not imposed from above, but emerging organically, because Traoré had permitted it to exist again. And the effect wasn't limited to Burkina Faso. Students in Senegal started requesting Wolof language history books. Artists in Niger painted tributes to local heroes, not foreign icons. WhatsApp groups across the Sahel began sharing Traoré's speeches translated into local dialects. Burkina Faso wasn't exporting products anymore. It was exporting confidence. But as Traoré rearmed the African mind with its voice, he knew one thing remained vulnerable, something every empire uses when it can no longer dominate you with guns, loans, or ideas. That weapon is isolation. And to defeat it, you don't build tanks, you build alliances. Especially after doing all this and knowing the Western hate toward Traoré, the alliance is needed. Traoré also knew, once you've reclaimed your gold, your food, your banks, your army, and even your mind, the next attack doesn't come with bullets or sanctions. It comes with silence. This is the West's final weapon: isolation. They won't invade you outright. They won't admit defeat. They'll just quietly erase you. You'll be left off conference lists. Your flights won't get clearance. Your leaders won't get invited. Your journalists won't get quoted. And slowly, the world stops seeing you, even as you rise. Ibrahim Traoré understood this game. He knew that once a country gains real sovereignty, it also becomes radioactive in the eyes of the empire. The moment Burkina Faso rejected France, refined its gold, built its banks, fed its people, and revived its own culture, it became a dangerous example, not because of weapons, but because of ideas that could spread. And so, before they could isolate him, he did something the West didn't expect. He multiplied. In 2023, Traoré helped launch the Alliance of Sahel States AES, alongside Mali's Assimi Goïta and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani, three military leaders who shared one thing in common. They were done with France, done with the IMF, and done with neo-colonialism disguised as aid. But AES was never just a defensive agreement. It was a preemptive vision, a shield against isolation, and a sword against dependency. At its core, AES declared 3 bold, silent truths. We will defend each other like one body. We will speak with one voice. We will not kneel. By early 2025, that alliance was no longer an idea. It had become an infrastructure. Troop movements were synchronized. Intelligence sharing was encrypted and shared without intermediaries. Training exercises took place in French-free zones. Military drills were conducted in deserts that, just a year prior, were patrolled by NATO drones. Most importantly, Traoré and his AES counterparts didn't ask permission from ECOWAS, the African Union, or the United Nations. They didn't need to. This rejection of existing institutions wasn't random. It was rooted in betrayal. ECOWAS had threatened military action against Niger. The AU remained silent when French forces overstayed mandates. The UN passed resolutions, but never imposed consequences for decades of looting, destabilization, or exploitation. Traoré didn't want allies who would clap politely from New York. He wanted allies who would bleed with him in the Sahel. That's why, in March 2025, AES invited Togo and Guinea to join its growing coalition. Guinea's Mamadi Doumbouya, himself a champion of mining sovereignty, responded with full support, calling AES the most honest structure in modern African defense. The West saw it differently. A leaked State Department cable, exposed by a whistleblower in April 2025, labeled AES as a strategic threat to the liberal order in West Africa, and warned that containment mechanisms may require escalation beyond diplomatic means. Translation: this alliance scares them because it's not just military, it's psychological. For decades, West Africa was seen as fragmented, weak, and permanently dependent. AES turned that script upside down, and fast. For the first time, African nations had a defense pact that didn't report to Brussels or Langley. For the first time, an African bloc existed that wasn't built by donors, but by defectors. And the cooperation wasn't just about soldiers. AES countries began discussing shared currencies based on gold, joint infrastructure investments like rail links, and even a regional communications network independent of European satellites. There were talks of creating an AES central bank, backed not by debt but by hard assets and cooperative lending. These weren't fantasies, they were frameworks. And as the alliance grew stronger, the attacks grew louder. Western media painted it as a military junta club. Analysts questioned their democratic credentials. Think tanks warned of growing Russian and Chinese influence. But all these narratives missed the point. Traoré wasn't trying to emulate Moscow or Beijing. He was trying to redefine Ouagadougou, Bamako, Niamey, and Conakry as centers of power in their own right. Places that didn't have to orbit anyone, west or east, because AES is not about rivalry. It's about refusal. Refusal to be ruled, refusal to be divided, refusal to be erased. And once that refusal becomes regional, once your neighbors protect your back and amplify your voice, you're no longer vulnerable, you're unignorable. So, everything we've explored, from gold sovereignty to food security, from financial independence to youth awakening, points toward one unavoidable conclusion. The West's fear and hatred of Ibrahim Traoré is not emotional, accidental, or irrational. It is deeply strategic. You see, nations like the United States, France, and their institutional arms don't act based on feelings. They act based on patterns. When they see someone disrupting the structures they've spent decades, sometimes centuries, building in Africa, they recognize the threat immediately. And when that person is not a temporary dissident, but a disciplined architect of a new model, their fear turns into hostility. In the end, this is not just about one country or one leader. It's about the larger question his story forces the world to ask. What happens when an African nation finally decides it doesn't need the West and then proves it? That that, more than anything else, is why they hate him. And that, more than anything else, is why the rest of us should pay attention. Because if Burkina Faso, landlocked, sanctioned, underestimated, can break free, then the rest of the continent can too. And that's what they fear the most. Do you think Traore is under threat? Would locals let the West hurt him? Let us know in the comment section.
All right, all praises to the Most High. Man, so much I want to say about this this particular video and this particular brother. First of all, I know some of you are going to say it is not a brother. Khan, do your research. It's evident that this brother is an Israelite, that he's from the line of Yaakov. All right. So putting all these implementations together, building up his people, building up his country, and separating from his adversaries. I mean, my goodness, where did this brother get all these ideas? You know what I'm saying? Like, where did this come from? I'm just surprised that the narrator didn't tell us that he started teaching the people that they were the children of Israel and they had to keep the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High, because that's all that was missing. And that's probably something that they talk about offline or whatever the case. But anyhow, a lot of his strategy and its implementation would be things that I would certainly do. You certainly want to implement taking control of the food. That's number one. I would have done that before the gold. But taking control of the food, taking control of the gold, running the bank, being able to operate your own financial well-being throughout the country, and then restoring the culture, which starts with the language, which starts with everything that is that you think of as cultural, getting rid of the colonization and all of their implementations, getting rid of all of that, taking full control, controlling the military, controlling everything that you need to control in order to maintain a standard of excellence as far as housekeeping goes. So these are things that, again, I certainly would implement, and things that this brother did very well. I look forward to more from this brother and building up the people of Burkina Faso and continuing. This is going to be a place to keep your eye on. This is going to be a place to go and visit. And I don't mean for a week. I don't mean for 2 weeks. I mean, go and stay 3 months, 6 months, a year, and just enjoy being there. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be able to go here. We're going to be able to go here and get more accomplished in 3 to 9 months than you would in 2 years in this captivity. And these people are on their way to freedom. They don't even understand. I don't know if they understand it, but he's implementing freedom for these people because they're getting rid of the ways of their oppressors, and they're coming out from the oppression, the oppressive thumb of the colonizers. So with that, I'm gonna yield there. We got another video. Go ahead, Akeem.
Khan, just real quick, the Most High is stirring up his spirit in all of his children. I'm sure if we were to visit all of the locations where his children are scattered, we would see brothers raising up, beginning to love ourselves, putting ourselves first rather than other people. And lastly, we've heard the current president make some very derogatory statements about a Kevilan and the people there. I can recall a time where he said that we're letting people from these derogatory name countries into the country. You know, that's very ugly statement, being that continent powers their society. And for you to share those sentiments, speak them out loud, you know, where there was no fear, you know, it pretty much lets me know all I need to know, you know, but I'll yield there.
All praises to the Most High. Well, let's continue. We have another video we're going to run. This one is much shorter, kind of highlighting along the same points. I know this is the 12 tribes scattered, what it means to be a Hebrew Israelite, and in all the places where we've been scattered. But this video, the reason we've been highlighting these videos is because this is what's happening in the awakening of our people, which is the most important piece of it. Yes, we are awakening. Yes, we are returning to the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High. And I bet they are as well. They're just not talking about it as we do. It's the center point of us. They're implementing freedom within their own land, within their own country, the place that they call home. They're implementing freedom. We don't have the ability to do that because we fear the power structure. This brother don't fear the power structure. This brother said, I'll build up my own power structure. So that's why we're highlighting this. But let's continue to the next video. Ironically, this video comes to us from Deontay's Boxing Nation. And it says, meet the real life Black Panther from Burkina Faso, and updates new projects. So he has a lot of things that he's been working on. We got from the first video, and now we're going to go into some more of what he's doing here.
Know that there is a real life Black Panther superhero of Africa, and he's not from Marvel Comics. He's not from Hollywood, and he's not from Wakanda. He's from a small country in Africa named Burkina Faso. He is the leader of this country, and he is the youngest president in the entire world. And I'm telling you guys right now, there are going to be a lot of movies about this man's life, because he's not a fictional character. He is a real life superhero, which is the reason why he is the most popular president in the entire world right now. His name is Ibrahim Traoré. I made a video about him about 2 weeks ago, and now I'm thrilled to give you guys updates on what he is doing for the continent of Africa. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Ibrahim, he took power in 2022 when he staged a coup d'etat to remove the former corrupt president, Paul-Henri Damiba. Ever since, it's safe to say that Ibrahim Traoré, he has done more for the entire continent of Africa than any other leader in the last 50 years. And he's doing it at a rapid pace. He is turning his country, Burkina Faso, into the new Singapore. The country is undergoing a major transformation under President Ibrahim Traoré. Right now, he's constructing 55 hospitals to revolutionize healthcare. But this is just a part of a larger movement towards self-sufficiency and national empowerment.
Ami, ça gâte pas. Avec Burkina Faso là, y a pas sondé. S'il te plaît, regardez cet hôpital là. Hein? IB hôpital maintenant. C'est pas IP cacao, IB hôpital. Ouais, moi-même je valide. Vous-même regardez. Ah, IB, Sabari.
Ibrahim Traoré, he just opened up 3 cement factories in Burkina Faso. And they are some of the most advanced cement factories in the world because they were designed by the best Chinese engineers in the world. Instead of buying materials from other countries, Ibrahim Traoré, he's building everything in-house. And with these cement factories, he's going to transform the entire country with massive infrastructure projects that are already ongoing right now. Right now, as we speak, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, he is building 50,000 homes for the homeless and the displaced in this country. 50,000, guys. And this is only the beginning of the project. He said this is just phase 1.
If this is how military ruling look like, we need military ruling in all African countries. If this is how dictatorship look like, we need dictatorship in all African countries. Yes.
This is a project by Captain Ibrahim Traoré to build 50,000 capacity houses for the displaced, for the homeless. That is your government providing accommodation for you. And we're not talking about regular accommodation. Ibrahim Traore already has a template. He already has a blueprint, a greenprint into what he wants to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the template of what Ibrahim Traore wants to turn those houses into.
So he's buying 50,000 homes for the homeless, and he's building hospitals that will be free for the citizens. Ibrahim, he believes everyone should have a home. Nobody should be homeless. It would be nice if America felt that way. He's already opened up his all-electric vehicle plant, cars that were all built right there in Burkina Faso.
Elle offre un transport respectueux vis-à-vis de l'environnement. Ces véhicules 100% électriques allient innovation et modernité. Symbole de la vision de Itawa, la première marque burkinabé de véhicules électriques.
This electric car is a game changer, boasting an impressive range of 330 kilometers on a single charge of 30 minutes. This remarkable efficiency positions the car as a competitive player in the electric mobility landscape. It also marks a significant milestone in the country's automotive industry and showcases its potential in the rapidly growing electric vehicle market. This also enhances the image Burkina Faso has. When the world is talking about Burkina Faso, they talk about the insurgency, the coup attempts, the military leadership. It is an image focused on certain areas of Burkina Faso, but Burkina Faso is more than that. It has a lot to offer, and this is a great example of how Burkina Faso is taking the right step in the right direction. We just talked about the refinery, the gold refinery plant. Now we're talking about an electric car, a homemade electric car that is going to put Burkina Faso on the map. It is a great way to start the year, and it will do wonders for the image of Burkina Faso. We want to say congratulations to Burkina Faso. Well done to the Burkinabe people. I am Ongil Zalalem.
But that's not it. He also just purchased 115 city buses, and students and workers will ride for free.
Voilà. Non, mais Canadien, on va téléphoner, on a les fesses les mains. Voici les Ibrahim Traoré. Il a dit qu'il a Akafo attaqué. Voici un autre fils en train de venir. Le capitaine Ibrahim Traoré. Il a fait.
You should support him. Support him. Support Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim Traoré, is a good support him. In everything he do, support him. He's a good man. Yeah, that's he's the one changing Africa now. Support him. When the Europeans start, yours to start. The support.
Yeah, that's what you got to say, Rasa. That's the key. Les Dara comme ça, vous voyez. Ici, il y a de mon pays. Actuellement, je suis mon père de pays. Là où il se passe, c'est là.
People, when I say this, I used to hate whenever I turn on some African movie or some African scene, video, whatever it was, commercial, infomercial, and you see people sitting in dirt with no shoes on, walking around in the dirt. I used to just hate seeing dirt. That just really annoyed me. Well, with Traore in power, all that shit is coming to an end. Because as we speak, there is literally construction going on all across the country right now. There's construction everywhere. Because Ibrahim Traore, he wants to pave the entire country full of roads and sidewalks. Did you guys know? Since Burkina Faso has been an official country, they have only had 3,000 kilometers of paved roads in the streets. That is in 65 years, guys. In 65 years, the country had only built 3,000 kilometers of roads. Well, Ibrahim Traore, he's planning on building 5,000 kilometers of road a year. And like I said, this is not just a plan. It's already under construction. Guys, I haven't even named all the other Guys, I haven't even named all the other factories and plants that this man has already built and opened. I mean, every time I turn on the news, there's a new project that he's working on. I'm telling you guys, Burkina Faso is going to be the new Dubai. He's already building a new airport, expanding it, making it bigger because they're expecting a lot more tourists. I mean, with Ibrahim Traoré just being the most popular president alone and everyone seeing what he's doing, that's going to automatically make a lot of people want to travel to his country, because I know I'm going. What's so impressive about Ibrahim Traoré is when it comes to other leaders, other presidents, you know, when they're running for office, they give you all these promises. They tell you what they're going to do for you, what they're going to do for the country, right? And then as soon as they get in office, most of the time, they don't do any of those things at all. But when it comes to Ibrahim Traoré, man, this man, he just snaps his finger and says, I want to do that. And it's done the next day. They're already working on the project the same week. And it's been like this ever since he's been in power. It's unprecedented. It hasn't been seen, at least not in Africa. But the good news is Ibrahim Traoré's aspiration is turning into imitation throughout the country. Other people, other leaders, I should say, are starting to do the same things. They're starting to pull away from the West. They're pulling away from the countries that previously colonized Africa. And now, for the most part, they're building off of their own resources, making money off of their own resources in the country, because Africa is the richest continent in the world when it comes to its minerals. So Ibrahim Traoré, he's already influenced a lot of the other leaders in Africa to follow his lead. But two countries in particular have come together with Ibrahim Traoré to form an alliance. It's called the AES.
Ibrahim Traoré is so popular is because he formed an independent alliance called the AES, founded with the express mission of freeing Africa from neo-colonial control. Of course, you have Burkina Faso, led by Ibrahim Traoré, known for its wealth in gold. Then there's Niger, led by President Gianni, known for its vast uranium deposits. And then you have Mali, with President Goïta, also known for its gold deposits. This alliance allows each individual nation to amplify its influence and the revolutionary message of economic sovereignty. So in the last few days, rumors have been spreading of a fourth country whose president wants in on this AES action. And for those who haven't guessed already, that country is Chad and President Mahat Diéby. In this video, we're going to try and figure out if this is a good addition or not for the AES, and does Diéby have the chops to be a member of the AES in the first place.
So if every country in Africa, or almost every country in Africa, starts to follow his lead, then Africa might turn around and become the United States of Africa. And once they form Voltron and do that, oh, now you talking about.
All right. So good stuff for Burkina Faso. Lots of good things moving forward, strengthening the people. Man, you know, that independence looked good, and it sounds wonderful. I mean, it really, my mouth waters at the thought of that level of independence, where you're you're able to shed those people who have been, keeping you back. Talking about the cars, like, he's trying to compete with the top, the top automakers. He got a car that charges 30 minutes and go 300 plus miles or kilometers. Like, that's how you compete. You know what I'm saying? You get some stuff like that going on. It's so much intelligence. Just this week, I was out doing my walk, and I was thinking about, I said, what if we never went into captivity? Like, what kind of place would we be in? Because you think about Benjamin Banneker, you think about all the historical inventors that we've had that have revolutionized this place. What if that happened in our own land, and you had all of our people without the restrictions, without the propaganda, without the ridiculous ideology for the false culture, without all of these negative aspects that have been crammed down our throats, how would our people, how different would things be for our situation? Now, I know in the text, our people went off and did horrible things. However, if rather than us going into captivity or going into captivity for this long, as long as we've been here, what if we'd have been a shorter time or whatever the case, and we had our own land, such as Burkina Faso and how he's doing? What if on a national scale, we were all free and able to operate, and our destiny or our resolution depended on us? How would our thinking be? How would our operation be? And how would our execution be if these were the things that we had to think about instead of basketball, football, hip hop, all this other foolishness that doesn't mean anything? So I was thinking about it, and it would be a lot like what he's doing. How do I improve this land? How do I improve for my people? How do I strengthen my people? How do I make things better? And I think that would be the culture of the people. And I think this is proof of that. So I'm going to go ahead and yield there. Go ahead, Aki.
Khan, it's inspiring. It's inspiring to see what he's doing there. And it does appear to be trickling down to not only the countries that are near him, but even over here in the States. We're the Most High's hand is moving upon his people. All praise to the Most High for all that he's done, all that he's doing, and all that he will do. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All praises indeed. Kind. So the Abba is magnificent, and so thankful for all of these things. And we're going to continue keeping an eye on Burkina Faso, and much like Deontay's Basha Nation, man, I'm gonna I plan on making my way over there. I need to get that stamp soon. soon indeed. So praises to the Abba. We'll go ahead and close this on out. We do this for a very specific purpose. Yes, we are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. Yes, we are the children of Israel. Yes, we have the promise of a Mashiach coming to redeem us. We do this for a specific purpose. Romans chapter 10 and verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Ha'abba for Israel is that they might be saved. We want to see our people saved. We want to see our people set free. We want to see our people redeemed from the curses that are written in HaTorah, and also from the captivity and the oppression placed on us by those places where we have been scattered. How are we going to do it? First of all, we're going to keep the faith and the belief in Hamashiach, the Messiah, and his return and his redemption and restoration of the children of Israel, putting us back to prominence as the Most High have promised. And also, we're going to Ecclesiastes chapter number 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. At the end of it's so very important to understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we are to fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. At the end of the day, when it is all said and done, all the dust is settled, and all the smoke is cleared, we will be judged, or rather, we have feared the Most High and kept his commandments. Why? Because this is the whole duty of man. I am Yaakazaki Yahu, joined by my most esteemed Ak Kenaniah, giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahweh Bashem Hamashiach wa Malak Yahweh Shai, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom wa Baruch, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. Until that day come, shalom, family.
Shalom, Mr. Bakar.
All praises to the Abba. Praise you, Abba Yah. Kwam Yasha Allah.
Kwam Yashala.
Barak Hashem Yahweh.